The U.S. Navy is working to rename an aircraft carrier that was supposed to be named for a Black War hero from Pearl Harbor. That famous scene from Pearl Harbor shows Cuba Gooding Jr. portraying Doris Miller, a real-life World War II hero and the first black sailor awarded the Navy Cross. In 2020, the Navy announced the new aircraft carrier would be named in Miller's honor. But sources familiar with internal discussions now say the Navy is reconsidering that plan and looking to rename the ship. It remains unclear what the carrier's new name might be, though two sources say officials have discussed naming it for President Donald Trump. The carrier remains under construction and isn't expected to be delivered to the Navy until 2034. Instead, one source says the Navy is looking to name another battleship after Miller, and the Navy has put him in to receive the Medal of Honor for his actions, the highest decoration for military valor. That decision ultimately lies with Congress and the President. Asked for comment on this story, a Pentagon spokesperson said they had nothing to announce at this time.
Nah, that would be crazy. And you know, this is unofficial, right? So just try not to get too carried away with it. We should try not to get too carried away. But if this is actually a thing, yeah, not rocking with it. You know what I mean? Like, not at all. Like, why would Trump supersede an actual person of service? And this is not the first time I've heard of him wanting his name on something. I think there was like a football team who's building a stadium, and then like maybe also like a transportation train system. I can't remember, but and to say, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with something being named after the president, right? But if this was already told that they would name this Navy ship after him, someone who actually served, someone whose legacy has been cemented even through the movie Pearl Harbor, demonstrating what this man did, why would Trump, who did not serve, want to, and no pun intended, trump that and put his name on it and have this man name placed on something else? It's not a good look. Not a good look at all. And if it was to be, it would just be bad. And I disagree with it. I disagree with it. His name doesn't need to be on everything. Like, and just in my personal opinion, like, it's just too much drama that continues to just come with Trump and a lot of his thinking. And so it's just a lot of nonsense, man. But this is definitely nonsense.
Under Pete Hegseth's leadership, we could see an unprecedented change to who is honored by our nation's military. Navy leadership is reportedly working to rename a new...
And if you don't know this disgusting person, yeah, this man is a blatant racist, a gross racist. Like, he's very problematic. For him to even be part of this administration says something. It really does.
Aircraft carrier that's under construction. And instead of honoring a heroic sailor, as was planned, they would name it instead for President Trump. That is according to three sources familiar with internal discussions who talked to CNN. NBC News has also confirmed the story. We should note the Navy directed CNN's questions to the Defense Department, which said it had nothing to announce at this time. But as we absorb this news, which would give an unprecedented honor to a sitting president, we also wanted to talk about Doris Miller, the man the ship is supposed to be named for. Doris.
And just to make this point, I'm gonna play the video. I'm glad that they're gonna actually talk a little bit more about him in this video than the last. But if that's the word if those rumblings are going around, it's coming from somewhere. They're just not coming out and saying this is possibly going to be named after Trump, and it's just out of nowhere. And then when they direct their questions, they're being told to direct their questions to the Department of Defense, and then them not giving them answers. That's because it's coming from somewhere. This is an idea. This is a possibility that they're not going to name this after the sailor, Mr. Miller, and they're possibly going to name it after Trump. I think it would be a bad idea. Hopefully by 2034, someone would have, come to their senses and say, absolutely not.
Dory Miller was born in Waco, Texas, and enlisted in the U.S. Navy in 1939. The son of sharecroppers, played a key role defending U.S. forces during Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. On that day, according to the National Museum of the Pacific War, Miller was retrieving laundry when bombs began falling. He was a mess attendant, third class, one of the few roles open to black men in the Navy at that time. Miller, quote, arrived on deck where he encountered his mortally wounded commanding officer and carried him to safety. He proceeded to one of the machine guns, and although black sailors never received training on the anti-aircraft guns, he opened fire on the Japanese planes overhead. After the gun ran out of ammunition, Miller assisted in evacuating sailors after the order to abandon ship and was one of the last 3 men to leave the vessel as it sank. Even after leaving the ship, he helped numerous sailors to safety. Miller was the first black service member to receive the Navy Cross, the Navy's second highest honor. The USS Doris Miller would be the first aircraft carrier named after a black and an enlisted sailor. But now, the same defense secretary who has reportedly blocked the promotions of numerous black and female officers may take that incredible honor away in order to honor a president who never served in our military.
It's crazy. Like I said, that Pete guy is just an absolute disaster of a person, low character, grossly negligent. And there are other words that would describe him better than that, because he is just out of pocket. But just with that brief history lesson, this man wasn't even trained. They weren't even allowed. This was during a time to where blacks were still being mistreated, frowned upon, looked at as inhumane, and treated in such a way, relegated to certain roles that were attempting to try to say we weren't smart enough, we didn't have the same capabilities. Yet he, rather than being bitter, said, men are being hurt. I've been listening to the Navy. I'm going to help, and I'm going to serve, and I'm going to put my life on the line. And he went and did something that he wasn't even trained to do, but just because it was in him. Yeah, we don't need to say anymore. Trump name does not need to be why. To me, this is one of those things. Why is it even a conversation? Whose idea was this? Let's find out whose idea it was, and let's make sure that they get openly ridiculed for this. And I don't mean that in a negligent way, but just in a way that speaks to their mismanaging of their authority. And we know who it is. We know who's all part of this. Some of these guys are really just like good old boys, doing all that they can do while they are in power. And there's some things, I'll say this, there's some things that Trump and his administration have done that I've agreed with, so this isn't a bias. I don't have a bias towards Trump. I actually think most politicians are shady and don't have the people in mind, aren't as compassionate as they try to display. They are all about just being politically correct. So this isn't just how I feel about Trump per se, it's in general. It doesn't matter who it was. This man is worthy of having his name put on this ship. And if that was the plan, then they need to stick to it. And that's how I feel about that. No ifs and buts about it. And that little brief history lesson says all that we need to know. And the fact that Trump wasn't enlisted at all, what are you even talking about here? What are we even talking about? Common sense is no longer common, is what I say to that. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. I'd love to engage with you all there about this a little bit further. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and let the algorithm know that you want to hear more from There's Hope Brand and our channel. Also, you can connect with us online at www.there'shopebrand.com, where you can get merch. We are a brand and a ministry. We do things in our local community to help those who are less fortunate, and we partner with nonprofits where there's need. So if you'd like to donate to that cause, that information is in the description below, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.